I'm Mari Kuraishi. I am currently the head of an organization called GlobalGiving, and I went to Harvard as an undergraduate, graduated in '87 from the college, and have a master's in an obsolete topic called Soviet Studies, also from Harvard, 1989. When, um, when I woke up on March 11th, the tsunami and the earthquake had already happened in Japan, and I hadn't turned on the news, didn't quite figure out what was going on, but I went to my email and I saw in my inbox an email from one of my friends in Japan saying, "I think this is a big one. Please take care of my daughter if anything happens to me." And so I started panicking and, turning on the TV and the radio and surfing the web. And of course, it was the images were horrific. Of course, I picked up the phone and I couldn't reach anybody. I couldn't reach my mom. I couldn't reach my dad. I couldn't reach my friend because all the phone lines were jammed, understandably. And but then I went into work, and Global Giving is an organization that is designed to let anyone in the world give to any project, whether it's around disaster relief or reconstruction or simple development. And we work in over 120 different countries in the world, and when a disaster strikes, we mobilize to make sure that people who want to support these efforts can do so. So went into work and couldn't quite get the Japanese earthquake out of my mind because it was all we were focused on, from ensuring that we had the right partners in the field, to making sure that our servers could deal with the additional traffic that we were dealing with. So this is a rare occasion when sort of the personal and the professional collided. When the disaster first struck, we had we immediately started trying to figure out what organizations to work with. And, we have a lot of experience in this kind of thing. A year before the Japan disaster, there was a Haiti earthquake. When the Haiti disaster struck, we had 20 organizations in Haiti that were already doing relief work. We immediately started working with them. Japan was a very different case. We had only one organization we were working with at the time, and they were not doing relief work. At the next stage, when we started looking for local organizations, say NGOs and nonprofit organizations based in Sendai, or Ishinomaki, or Minami Sanriku, that's when we had a much harder time finding the organizations that were, one, had the English language capability, two, had a facility for working on the web, which is what Global Giving requires. And three, could put together budgets, plans, targets to be able to say, if we get X amount of donations from you, this is what we will accomplish. This is how we'll measure it. This is how we will ensure that we meet the milestones. I saw some very interesting work carried out by the NGOs that we supported. There's this organization called Civic. They specialize in sending fellows into the Tohoku area to work with local organizations to set up social enterprises. Another project we saw supported by some of the NGOs we worked with was setting up container malls in the Oshika Peninsula. And what was really nice about that example is that the AAR had supported these containers. And there were a couple of stores that started out of these containers. Peace Winds, in turn, had built out these wooden structures outside of these containers to expand the space available for shopping. And IDA had come in to also support some of that construction. And they were, this coordination had happened because the local business people had been really clear about what they wanted. And what was really impressive is that each of these NGOs had listened very clearly to the needs expressed by the community. And I was really struck this time when I was in Tohoku by the example of men and women, mostly young, who had come back. I mean, there was a woman from Otsuchi who had been working in Uruguay for JICA, who had come back to lead a project for AMDA in Otsuchi. There's a young woman in Minami Sanriku who had been working for Peace Winds in South Sudan or something. And she had come back in the past 12 months to lead this project for Peace Winds in Japan. And the number of people who had been born in the Tohoku region who went out to get this global experience and came back to give back was just astounding. I was like, how many people could have come from this area and are working globally? But every time I went to a new city, they were like, oh yeah, I used to work, in Somalia. I used to work in Liberia. And there they were back in Japan. And I have, it fills me with great hope that these people are coming back and using their expertise and experience in a very different way in Japan. And that perhaps that might turn out to be the seed of miniature little revolutions in civil society in Japan. I have great hopes for what civil society, especially in the Tohoku area, might do in the coming 10, 20 years. Being the first one in your little group to take a trip up to Tohoku with a volunteer group and to come back and to be able to tell that story back to your friends and family about what you saw up there, what the conditions are like, and perhaps what things you were able to do in that region to help the local economy. I mean, even taking a tourist trip up to Tohoku makes a huge difference. You can also take a leadership role in going out and testing new mechanisms like music securities. Some of you have probably heard about it, but Music Securities is working with some of the industries in the Tohoku region where you can pay 10,000 yen. 5,000 of it is a donation to the industry to rebuild, say restart their factory. The other 5,000 is a forward payment for some of the services and products that they sell, reasserting your confidence that the products from that area are okay is a huge help. I have a little card here with a message from a donor that supported some of the work we do in Japan. We had over 50,000 donors from 111 different countries give over $9.9 million to Japanese relief and reconstruction. And on Facebook, right before I came, we asked these donors to give us messages for the people in the Tohoku region. So this is a message from Karen Choate in English and in Japanese for the people in Tohoku. We're still getting donations well over a year later. Every day there are still donations coming to Japan. So these are people who, in one way or another, had a personal affinity for Japan. And that's sort of the only explanation I can find to the fact that people are still continuing to give. And it's not a platitude for me to go to Tohoku and tell people still care, and people still remember, and people really want you to recover, which is a really nice message for me to be able to deliver.